Dear Father, thank you for this day, for the opportunity that we have, the fact that we arrive here today. It's a gift, it's a blessing. We ask you to guide us all through this time that we are here. Help us to be present, help us to open our mind and souls to the pearls of the gospel, to the teachings of Spiritism. Help ourselves to be open for nourishment and for all the abundant blessings that are available to all of us. Guide our friend Teresa in her delivery today so she can speak with the simplicity and the love of her heart, and bless us all. Bless us all on both realms of life. Maybe this time be a time of enlightenment and a time that help all of us to reconnect to your presence, to our potentialities, and to all the beauty and all that is worth starting with ourselves. Thank you, and so be it. Okay, so today we have our friend Teresa. Everybody, most of you know Teresa. Teresa is a spiritist worker, part of the Federation. She also is part of SEPA, who is here with us, sharing this space on the days that we are not here. And today she's going to speak to us about the narrow gates. Yep.
Thank you. Good morning. What a pleasure to be here and meet our friends that when see when we're coming here on Sundays. It's a blessing to have this opportunity that you sit together and talk about gospel and have this moment of serenity and harmony, because look the difference. We coming from outside, you see the craziness, and you coming here, it's calm, it's serene, and it give us this sense of peace that we look for so much. So thank you for this opportunity, because every time is ask us to do a study about the gospel at the moment they always give us the topic we need to hear, right? And the narrow gate, in some translations, we have the narrow door. It's something perfect connection with the previous reading, because you need to look inside. We're going to have opportunity when we cross these gates. We're going to have a chance to work in ourselves deeply. Okay? So we're going to, of course, you had to bring the picture of the gospel according to Spiritism. This is a basic book for us. And we always going to find the consolation. We're going to find the guidance for our everyday life. So that's something that you have to have with us all the time. Not something that you just carry to show up, but something that you read and you try to put in practice, because those are the teachings from Jesus for our progress, for our moral progress. So let's go to our topic. But I want to bring first, before we go direct to the gate, sometimes we're anxious to cross the gate, but you need some preparation. And we need to talk about efforts. This word we can see many, many times in Spiritism. I'm going to take a chance to say that is a key word in Spiritism, because everything you need to accomplish, you need to put effort on this, right? If you want to lose your weight, you got to put effort in this. If you want to lose some bad habits, you need to work on this. So effort is for everything. And for us to cross any door, each one we decide to go through, we're going to do some effort on this. And I brought for us just 3 passages from the gospel that you're going to read the word effort there. We start on the moral persons. It's from the chapter 17, Be Perfect. They study their own imperfection and strive incessantly to combat them. All their efforts are focused on being able to say to themselves tomorrow that they are better than they were yesterday. There is no other way for us to evolve unless we look ourselves, work on this, so the next day is going to be better. We always better in the next day. Even though sometimes we don't see this, but some of our characteristics, something is going to improve from one day to another, right? That's wonderful because even though it's slow, we know that we are moving up. The second, from the Spirit's book, chapter 12, the question 909, could humans always overcome their bad tendencies through their own efforts? Yes. And sometimes with very little effort. What they lack is willpower. How few of you make an effort, however? Again, look at the key word. If you do this, if in anything in our lives, we're going to advance. The third one, going back to the chapter 17 from the Gospel, the good spiritists, that's for all of us. True spiritists are recognized by the moral transformation and the efforts they make to overcome their bad inclinations. So, in any moment, it is required us to be perfect. In any moment, the good spirit tells us, you gotta do this right now, you gotta be good right now. No. They tell us, if you do the effort, we're gonna advance, you're gonna progress, you're gonna feel better, you're gonna feel happier. That's the way we do. So we're gonna see that that's our everyday disposition to do something, to change something in ourselves, to know ourselves better. That's going to bring us to a better place. That sometimes you need to go across the door to get in this better place. So let's talk first about the wide gate, the big one, the one that's very easy to go across. Wide is the gate of perdition, because bad passions are numerous and because the majority follow the path of evil. Narrow is the gate of salvation, because great effort, look at the word again, is required to those who wish to pass through it. To overcome the bad tendencies, some think to which they feel resigned themselves. This is the most common gate we go through every day, almost every day. This gate is large, right? So we can go the way we are, with the luggage we want. Remember the time when you could go, we could travel with 3 luggage? Wow, we bring everything. What we need, what you don't need, what was good, what was not good, but we travel with everything. Until today, I remember a friend that says her first trip to Europe, she went to Spain, and she brought a luggage full of shoes, only shoes. Can you imagine? And today, someone travel with a luggage full of shoes that she probably wears just 2 pairs of shoes. That's how we go across the wide gate. With what we need, we don't need, with our good and bad tendencies, the way we are. Since we have a space, why are you going to think about what you need to bring? Why are you going to think about the selection? What you're going to select to go with us? Doesn't matter if it's heavy or not, you're going to go with everything. But when it's easy, doesn't mean that is the best way to do, right? It's so easy to go. And sometimes the easiest thing we don't value. We don't have to do any effort again. So we don't value that. We need to have something that make us to work harder for us to value more. So that's the wide gate. And I think many of us recognize ourselves going across this. That's when we lose our temper and then you go from one place to another. create some situations, create some difficulties many times, right? So this is the white gate. But Jesus is calling us. This parable, it's giving us the option to choose which path to take, and giving us how we're going to go. How are we going to go across this from one space to another? Because when you talk about the gate, we are talking, okay, I'm going to see from move from here to there. Maybe this moment is not so good, but when I cross this door, I will find a better place to be, a better place to live, a better situation to be on. So we brought here from Amélia Rodrigues from the book Living with Jesus. Everybody knows Amélia Rodrigues, the poet, Brazilian poet, and she's connected with Joana de Angelis, and she was invited to write books about Jesus' life. So in this book, Living with Jesus, this is translated. She tells us Jesus appears to them and opens before them a list of new possibilities, offering uncommon resources, opportunities never imagined, and causes a rapid change in conduct. That's the invitation from Jesus. He gives us all the time in all his lessons a way for us to meditate about our own lives and do the change. But many, many times we don't pay attention. Now we are here in a world that will have a lot of conflicts, not only outside, but inside of the families, inside of ourselves. But he's always inviting us to do different, to change, to stop doing what you do. If it's not making you happy, why you continue doing this? We have this habit, right? We want to see something different, but we don't change our attitude. I'm going to give an example. I want to lose weight. I always talk about that, but I cannot stop eating sweets. How am I going to find a different result? And then I came here when I saw the sweets, that the first thing I did was, oh, I want to go there. I don't have sweets at home because I don't buy it. So when I come someplace, instead okay, I'm going to go direct to I'm going to read, I'm going to sit. I went there and I ate a sweet. So it's a way to let it go all these opportunities we have to overcome our bad tendencies. Let's imagine if it's difficult to let go this habit that's material, can you imagine about our selfishness, our pride, our vanity? That's something that's inside of us for so many incarnations. So we cannot expect to change from one day to another. It's going to take time. It's going to require patience and a lot of effort. So we brought here two moments of Jesus when he gives us the opportunity to go and do different now. Let's remember the young rich man that's in this book, The Prelude to Divine Kingdom by Amélia Rodrigues. Oh, yeah, Amélia Rodrigues. I always like to bring a suggestion of reading, and this book is wonderful. And this young man, he's rich, he has everything, he has a family that's very important in society, and he's unhappy. He's not, something is missing, and he feels some emptiness. And in a moment, he heard about Jesus and he goes there. Of course, the language here is much more beautiful, okay? So look for the book. And he goes and he finds Jesus. And when he connected with Jesus, when he catch the gaze of Jesus, he felt that that's the path, that there he should go, and he felt that he would find the purpose of his life when he saw Jesus. And Jesus invited him to follow him. But Jesus said, renounce yourself, renounce everything you have and follow me. That's the problem. It's so difficult for us to let it go. It's hard to let it go our possessions. It's hard to let it go. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. What are they gonna do with my books? What's they gonna do with the things I've been holding all my life and I love so much? And that's what happens with our attachments. And this young man, he's not worried about his money or the jewels he had. He was worried about his position. He has an important position in society. He was training for this, how do you call, the run they're gonna have, and it's gonna be very important. He hires slaves to help him. So it was a very important competition in the city happening, and he will participate in this. And then he said, he was sad for saying that, but he said to Jesus, sorry, I cannot follow you. And Jesus said, renounce everything and follow me. There is no more time. There's nothing to wait for. Let's go. Just like that. Let's go. And he said, unfortunately, I cannot follow you. A week later, in the run, then the race, there was an accident, and then he was killed. And at this moment, he was dying, according to the description from Amélia Rodrigues, and then he saw again the image of Jesus inviting him to follow him. And he said no. So what Jesus said to him, renounce everything and follow me. To follow him, you got to go across a gate, right? From one place that you are living to another place. It's another way to say, let's cross the gate. And there is another example from Jesus that he invited us again to move from one situation to another situation that's going to make us happier and live our life in a better way. That's about the woman that committed adultery. Remember? They were ready to kill her by stones, and they provoked Jesus and asked Jesus, oh, this is the law. She committed adultery, so she needs to die. And Jesus didn't say, don't kill her, but she says, the first one who didn't do that, see, the first one to throw the stone. Anyone, what happened? Do you remember this moment? Everybody started disappearing. So in the end, there was just the woman and Jesus. And Jesus said, did they condemn you? And then she said, no. And then she said, neither do I. So go and sin no more. When he says go and sin no more means, okay, let's move on. Let's move forward and do better. So this is the invitation to Jesus for us, to move across the narrow door. Because in the narrow, remember, the door is narrow. We cannot carry all the luggages we have. And the most important, for us to go freely, you gotta go light. I always remember in the book Liberation, that's the translation for the book Libertação, from André Luiz. And at the beginning of the book, he tells us the story about the red fish, the little red fish. And the little fish, in the beginning, he couldn't go across because he was too fat, but with all the obstacles he surpasses, all the fights he fights, he loses weight, he goes to the ocean. When he finds out that where the other fishes were living will be destroyed, he comes back and invites them to go with him to the ocean. They were too fat. They wouldn't pass in the small space to be free. What is this fatness? Was all the bad habits they have that they renounce to leave behind. They prefer to die, ignore this invitation, than to change their habits. That's the invitation of Jesus for us to cross the narrow door. You need to leave behind all these bad tendencies, all our bad habits, the selfishness, the pride, the vanity, everything that hold us to progress. And you have the third one here. Then Jesus told his disciples, if anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. And then when you see the word cross gives us some fear, right? It's going to be heavy. No, it's going to be our commitment to change, our commitment to this life that we accept to live. When we are planning to reincarnate for this reincarnation, we had a lot of planning, right? A lot of commitment. So let's get everything we need, even though it's hard sometimes, but it never is forever. The difficult times will pass, the good also. But you're going to be like this because this is life. We always learn with more difficult moments and relax when everything is good and get prepared for the next obstacle we need to overcome. And then we come to the narrow door. Enter through the narrow door, for the door to perdition is wide, and the path leading to it broad. And there are many who enter through it. How small is the door to life? How narrow is the path that leads to it? And how few are who find it? So, why so few find it? Because we still have the tendency to stay where we are, because that's what you know. My brother-in-law, he used to say that we prefer to stay with the bad we know than to go to the good that we don't know. And just last week, I was listening a podcast with a neurologist, and then he said the same thing. Now, scientifically, he said our brain is like that. Our brain doesn't want to leave the comfort zone. Our brain is going to keep us, even though it's not so good, but that's something we know. It prefers to stay even it's no good in the known than to go to unknown. So that's why so many of us doesn't try to go to the narrow door, because you're going to leave all the things that you already know, afraid of you're going to find after this moment. But habits are here for us to break, right? And find the new ways to find, because our main purpose is to be happy, and we're gonna find to do the effort to find this happiness we are looking for. And this question, I think, is we all have this kind of questions. What can I do to change, to transform, to know myself better, to do something different, to find, to cross this door? And Emmanuel heard the same questions. Everybody knows Emmanuel, the spirit guide of Chico Xavier, right? And Emmanuel heard the same questions. Look at that. How can I improve myself to be better? I notice that sublimation is an almost insoluble problem. What should I do to resolve it? I long to refine myself, but how? Does perfection exist? How can it be achieved? This is in the beginning introduction of the book Nós. This book is not translated yet, but let's go back there. Those are our questions, right? And Emmanuel in this book, with this message, he answers all these questions. And for me, the biggest lesson in the introduction of this book is how humble he is. I was embarrassed, to be honest with you, with my pride and selfishness, because in the beginning of the book, he included himself in everything. Look what he says. This book presents itself with the title We, because in general, we are all in the process of improvement, pursuing perfection, which one day in the great future will unite us all more intensely in the infinite love of our Father. There is another moment when he says, to thus arose the purpose of writing this simple book, truly very simple, attempting to formulate answers, and yet we have written only the unpretentious page of this volume around the proposed questions. These pages are not intended solely for the friends who honor us with fraternal questions, but for all of us, incarnate and discarnate spirits who surround the earth's crust or remain around it through numerous reincarnations and disincarnations. So he talks like the same level with the same need. That's the difference of a high spirit, the humbleness. So, big suggestion, even for those who doesn't speak Portuguese, we know now it's very easy to translate. So, because this book, like Emmanuel says, is going to answer our questions. And it's a beautiful way for us to find the tools to cross this narrow gate, because that you're going to need to do. We're going to need to work in ourselves, try to transform. But for us to transform something, we need to know this. So we need to look more, stop more, take more time for our prayer and meditations to know ourselves better, to be aware of who we are to start with. You cannot transform anything that you don't know. We don't know what we're going to do. And have the patience that it's going to take time. We're not going to be a different person from one day to another. We're not going to cross just one door. We're going to cross many doors. So how many times you need to come from this area so dark? I'm so afraid that we need to cross the door of fear, the door of anger, the door of resentment, and always find a different space, a lighter space. And why we need a so small door? Because in the end, what's going to prevail is going to be the goodness on us. And the good thing is light. Light illuminates everything. And the light doesn't need a big door. Light doesn't need a small space. In this small space, the light's going to go through and illuminate the whole area. That's why we don't need a big door. We just need a space that you can go and enjoy our progress. And it's going to take time, for sure. Maybe each reincarnation, we're going to cross one door. It's not a problem. We have the blessing of reincarnation, the opportunities. Those are opportunities for us to grow, to learn. So you don't need to be. Another thing you can leave behind is our impatience, right? And then we're going to go better to the next stage, to the next step. Again, we go back to the book Living with Jesus, reinforcing the need for us to leave behind this tendency to be able to go to the narrow door. Truly, the gate of salvation is narrow, but it is accessible to all who wish to pass through it. The Master never disdained challenges and difficulties. demonstrating that every action requires sacrifice and that the liberation from unhappy inheritances is continuous and long-term work. It's accessible, it's doable, it's for all of us. Nobody is special. Uh, when you think about God, there is no privilege. We all have opportunities, chances, tools. We can. I like the treatment that the center offers. It's a tool because sometimes we are not able to work by themselves. Of course, the walk is individual. Nobody can do this for us. That's that's our thing. But sometimes you need help. So you gotta look for the help we need. Spiritually, sometimes you need to find a therapy, sometimes you need to find a friend to talk with, change our way to live, find a better nutrition, find exercise. And what is easy for one person is not easy for another person. The effort is different, but is accessible to all of us. And is our obligation to look for these benefits that they are offered to us to make our life better, right? Another book for Sunday afternoon. And we brought here because sometimes you really, sometimes now I think most of the time you need help. And you can find help in prayer, in meditation, if you're alone. And you have this wonderful chapter on the gospel, chapter 25, seek and you will find, knock and it shall be open to you. And then we brought here a list that we can use as sometimes like something to remind us that there is a way for us to do. We are not alone on this. We can cross many doors, go over many obstacles, and you're never alone because you have the divine guidance. Ask for the light that will illuminate. Look, prayer is powerful. We still don't value the power of the prayer yet many times, but change our connections, change our symphony, and you're gonna see things changing. We will change, we're gonna find solutions that sometimes you don't see. Symbol of choice, ask the strength to resist evil and you will have it. That's the effort you need to do. That's the effort we were talking before. Ask for the strength because sometimes effort, many people think that effort can be like sacrifice, but sacrifice in the sense of something that's suffering. No, effort is to put extra strength to do something. That's it. Life essentials decisions. Ask for assistance of good spirit. So if you don't know which door to take, let's ask help for the good spirit. We are surrounded by friend spirits, familiar spirits, guides, our guardian angel. I love to talk about the guardian angel because that's something you learn when you're a kid, right? And then you know that is our loyal friend. They choose to be with us before we reincarnate. They were there in our planning. And they choose to be with us in this whole life. And sometimes they stay with us after life. Spiritual transformation. Ask for good counsel and they will never refuse to you. Sometimes we need a fraternal conversation to open our mind because we are so confused. Fraternal conversation will not bring us solutions for our problem that we need to resolve, but fraternal conversation will bring us the open the door for us to understand ourselves better through the message from Jesus, through spiritism, through to have someone there to listen to you, because sometimes what you just need is someone that have the time to pay attention for what we're saying. And faith and hope, but ask sincerely with faith, trust, and faith fervor. So we are so interesting. Now we came from this down to which door to take, and then we find in this chapter very opportunities to learn about ways to use the teachings of Jesus to transform our lives. He's talking with us all the time, all this time, and you still don't pay attention well. But everything is there because we don't want to, that's not our words we're going to take home. We will be Jesus' word. And let's take the narrow door, because this will bring us to the happiness, serenity, and that's what we need in this moment of crisis in our planet. And let's use the prayer not only for ourselves, but for our whole planet, for our friends, and everyone that you know in need. So that's my study for today. Thank you very much.